Hello. You're listening to What the Fuck Do We Know? Can spending be good or bad? Is there such a thing as immoral spending? What do you think?
I think I already kind of responded in the same way in our previous episodes. But when you say good or bad, I think we need to define the core value. I mean, how else do you say
what
whether
are the
something...
core values of the society that we live in? I guess we should start from there. If someone asked you, what are the values of the society that you live in, what would you say?
In Ukraine right now, survive the war.
I think that we can actually consider like Western society, and maybe you are part of Western society just because of your ideology, I would say.
Okay, it's not homogenous, obviously. And I think when you this question is also like you have to consider it in comparison to something else.
Which question? Spending or the core values?
No, core values.
Okay.
Right? You can have core values without comparing yourself to other people, but I think that it's also useful to contrast yourself to other core values. Because it kind of...
Why does your own value depend on the other value?
It doesn't fully depend. But I think for
Can you give me an example?
Often,
Using
individualism versus collectivism.
Why do you have to do the versus?
You don't have to, but that's what we do.
What does it inform in terms of your decision of making this a value for you?
I think it's just, that's how just people operate.
What about you?
Want to... Me, I mean, to some extent, I think it's also applicable to me. I do think that on personal level, obviously people don't think in this way explicitly, but they still, in order to kind of be someone, you kind of have to separate yourself from everyone else. If you're the same as everyone else, you can't really put a label on yourself, and you can then kind of like socially
Well, you can label yourself as part of everyone else.
But then like, we wouldn't even have those like labels in the first place because they wouldn't distinguish between people.
No, there are. It doesn't erase that there will be somebody who would be different from everybody else, but you don't have to be that person. It doesn't mean that you lack an identity. Your identity can just be part of the general identity. A lot of people are that way. A lot of people are just people that fit in with the status quo.
I agree.
Most people, I would even go as far
But also,
as
if you ask like, what is the culture in the Western developed countries, inevitably you will end up contrasting it to other parts of the world.
I don't think you would inevitably do that. If you're conscious of what you're doing, you wouldn't.
Okay.
But last question about values, because that's not what we're talking about today. Does every value have an opposite? Like a singular opposite?
I think most of them have, but most
Sorry for cutting you short the other time. Go on.
A little bit too late.
Go on. Most of them have.
Most of them you can come up with the opposite, or like something that is kind of the opposite, but I don't think in most cases those things are not actually supported by other people. But I think in some cases they are. Like collectivism versus individualism, I think there is a real
Give another example.
Divide here. I had one example. Isn't that enough?
Okay, twice. It's like,
okay, give me value. Some people like killing other people. Some people don't.
I have no values. I don't think I have any core values.
You don't have core values.
I think I'm lying. I probably do, but I don't think about them too much. I just have these things in my head that when I see them, excuse me. I have things in my head that when I see them, I just kind of go, that's bad. But if you ask me like, why is it bad? If you ask me why is it bad, I would come up with a reason why it's bad. But I don't know what the core, the main thing is.
So the feeling comes first and then you kind of rationalize it?
I have rationalized a lot of things already in my life, so I would say at this point, the rationalization will be there already. I don't need to I don't need to look for it, but I don't know what the core is. That's the thing. I don't know.
So you don't dig? Well,
no, I just don't think that there is a singular core.
I don't think it's a singular. I think it's
Yeah, so if it's not a singular core, sure, there are many things that form
it's
the
like a
core
network.
different. Yeah, okay, great, bro. But in terms of just like having a singular, core, which I think some people do,
like one value.
Yes, one thing that guides everything. One
Like
is it? I've never watched Lord of the
religion.
Rings, but is it one ring to guide them all?
I don't know. I mean, I have watched
so boring.
it. But...
We don't know fantasy stuff. Ugh. I think it's one ring to guide them all. I'm gonna stand on it.
I'm pretty sure they were.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Driven by the ring only.
No, I felt like there are 7 rings. No, it's Lord of the Rings. 7 is a random number I just pulled out of my head.
It should be more than 1 if it's rings.
Yeah, rings. But I feel like 7 because like biblically 7 is like completion.
No idea. But I remember one scene that ring was dropped somewhere, then it was found, but it was the same ring.
How does that tell you if it's...
No, it doesn't really. This is the only memory I have. I'm sorry, my memory sucks.
I know one thing from Lord of the Rings. I said I haven't watched it, but I was wrong. I watched the first part until You Shall Not Pass.
Great.
I slept off after that.
A boring scene? That was a boring scene?
No, it wasn't boring. My sister loved Lord of the Rings, and she locked me in my room to force me to watch it, but I was just sleepy. So I just remember.
No, you just didn't want to be the same as your sister.
I didn't like Lord of the Rings. I'm a Harry Potter guy.
Differentiate yourself from your sister.
I'm a Harry Potter guy.
And that's why you found a different thing for yourself.
Not fuck J.K. Rowling. I actually don't know why people hate her that much. I think that she's exaggerating the problems that she has decided are problems, but I think that she has to some extent a valid thought, but we're not going there. I'm not going there. There's so many things that I have actually to say, so many like digressions that I have from where we are right now, but I'm just gonna center myself. Spending. Let's go there.
Values.
I thought, oh wait, right. No, why? No, doesn't matter.
Oh, you said can spending be good or bad?
Yeah. And you said what? Well, what is good or what is bad? That's what you said.
Exactly, but that's
the beginning disgusting thing to say.
It's not because
disgusting is a word that I use even when it's not necessary. So
great. I mean, it doesn't really make your argument better.
No, I'm just letting you know so you don't know. It's like I'm not throwing up from hearing that sentence, but it's an annoying thing that you say. Because I do know that there are a lot of things and I've caught you in them several times when you see something and you say it's bad or it's good.
I do it on purpose.
Using those words. You're not doing it on purpose. You're doing it because it comes.
Sometimes I don't do it on purpose.
It comes naturally to you.
Okay, first of all, I do have values. I can acknowledge that. Second, sometimes I do it on purpose and I say something is good or bad in the common sense when it's not relevant to the conversation. When I talk seriously, as I am right now, I do ask for a definition because people do have different values, and I do think ethics is relative.
So what's the definition? What's the definition are you asking for when I ask you is spending good or bad? I can spending. So my question actually more, is it possible to have, I guess maybe I didn't ask it this way, is it possible for spending to be good and bad?
At the same time.
Can it exist? Both
just
of them
generally,
can
you apply this?
Can you apply this this judgment to spending?
Well, if things can be moral or immoral, and you have values, then spending money can promote some values and not promote other values. There is always an opportunity cost. Then in that way, I think you can say that it can be good or bad.
Okay. Let's go from basic.
Oh, that's what I love.
Do you think you spend a lot?
Well, again, compared to whom? In Ukraine, I think I spend average, median, I think.
A
little bit more than median.
Is there anything that you spend money on that you feel kind of ashamed of?
I don't feel ashamed, no. Do I spend money on some unnecessary things?
Yes, do you feel maybe not ashamed, but you feel this is not...
Wasteful?
Yeah, wasteful. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, yes, but not because, I feel like there is this altruistic need in me that I need to give money away, right? It's just I just don't think it's worth it.
Worth it according to what?
According to, I could buy something better or save up money for myself. So it's not worth it for me and my needs.
But what is that thing? Your dildo set?
That they gave to you?
I said that now. And it could be a joke, but I have no idea what you have in your apartment.
I think you've checked fucking you have privacy issues, first of all.
I don't have
going
privacy
on record.
issues. I don't see any reason why.
Sorry, you locked yourself in my bedroom just to go through my things.
No, to find something that you were hiding.
My things.
No, to find something that you were hiding from me.
You went literally through all my things.
Excuse me, you come to my apartment and I'm not hiding anything from you. You don't have any right.
I don't go through your things. That's the difference between us.
Well, because I don't hide things from you.
I don't
when you start hiding
privacy issues.
When you start hiding things from me, that's when I go through your things. First of all. Secondly, also, I don't know. You might have it in your apartment, so I don't know. I actually don't know what you do in your free time.
Nothing wrong with that. You have a dildo right over there.
It's called
It's a wooden dildo. You're very old school.
I don't know what that is, and I don't know why people, it's not just you, like people come here and they fixate on that thing. And I moved into this apartment and I didn't even think anything.
Which is interesting because you are usually the person who is fixated on things.
Right. But I saw that and I was like, okay, that exists.
Well, because you're used to wooden dildos around.
Sure. Also, it's shaped, it has a pointed top. That would hurt anybody who put that in them. It's not like a smooth surf. Like it's pointed. I think it will hurt people.
It's old school.
I don't think old school dildos had a pointed top. But again, not to digress.
Right. So a wooden dildo, I would consider a waste of my money.
Why? It's like
because you can buy a
cheaper.
Metal.
I think a wooden dildo
then
would be cheaper.
You will spend more money on medical expenses.
Why do you think they will have splinters? I don't think that would leave splinters. Like, if that were used as a dildo, it's smooth. It's pretty finished well.
Well, I didn't explore it in much detail.
But actually, it's a question. Why did they transition from wooden to metal? Did people complain about the wooden stuff? Just too cold?
I think so. I mean, I just think metal seems safer. It seems smoother.
In what way? Well, the wood. I've seen the pictures with the wooden stuff. It's pretty smooth. Oh, also, if you go down the hill, in the center, there's a guy that was always selling those stuff, and you could see that they were quite smooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay.
They were I don't think you would get a splinter from that. I'm not telling people to try it, but still, I don't know if this metal stuff was necessary.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
A good spending versus you asked the question whether it can be good or bad. I think that yes, it can if you have values, and I think all people have values even if they don't acknowledge it, which I think most people do.
So let's have this conversation as though we're part of our society here, where people pretty much have
as though we are not.
No, because I don't want to sound anyway, but I think that to some extent, me less than you, our morals are a bit not so acceptable. By
what kind of morals?
I think when we talk about good and bad,
I think you are a pretty
I'm more. That's why I said less than
person.
You. No. I think that what we allow to exist, by our standards, from our conversations, what we would allow to exist and what we would pass judgment on as bad it's less than what the general public would.
Okay, very carefully. I agree. I agree.
So
wooden dildos is one of those examples, probably.
I think I would venture to say that more than 80% of Western society has adults
with wooden dildos.
Not a wooden dildo, just a dildo.
There is a big dark market for wooden dildos.
A dildo in general.
80% plus
of adults in Western society.
Women or all adults?
All adults.
I disagree.
You think men don't have dildos?
I think most men definitely don't have dildos. Because in Ukraine. In Western.
I disagree. And I haven't checked a lot of men, but my knowledge of people
That's what you were looking for.
No. My knowledge of people is that people are really...
dildo-centric?
No, people are penile-centric.
Okay.
And even for a joke, they will have it. I was on Instagram and there's some guy making candles, penis candles, and He's selling to a lot of men, as I could see from his promos. So I think
just a joke. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Until they burn their assholes with it. For the sake of this conversation, let's talk as though we have the exact same morals as everyone in our society.
Okay,
most people in our society.
Yes, let's generalize.
What do you think people would call good spending?
I think the first thing that comes to your mind is altruistic spending, right?
In Ukraine right now, it's giving money to the army.
In the version of altruism, yes.
Yeah.
The way how Ukrainians see it, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not against giving money to the army. I think like military funds is necessary, but I do think that military funding should be done by governments mostly. I don't think that individuals shouldn't do it, but I think, and because I've seen this in person, I've seen an attack on an individual who said, hey, now my money, my altruism is going to be directed towards like care for people affected by war, not military. And I'm not going to give money to military because I don't feel comfortable giving my money to the like killing or to like murder or whatever they called it. And that person was
Ukrainian?
The person was not Ukrainian. The person was attacked for saying that. Not
by
physically.
Ukrainians.
Yes.
I have come across, especially like I think it's quite popular in the West. Not everyone feels comfortable donating to weapons. And I am not surprised that they were attacked by some Ukrainians. Is that a reasonable thing to do? Probably no, because Ukraine still needs humanitarian aid. So what's the point? They will not donate for weapons. The government will just spend a little bit less money on social stuff and more money on weapons. So I don't think there is any point, like rational or like instrumental value in attacking them. It has negative value because you're kind of like creating this bad communication. And
you just spoke about government spending, and it's also a huge conversation here, right? Because like, right now there's a war, and there was a protest, I believe, several months ago where people went to the government building in the city center, and there was a protest kind of like aimed at forcing the government to spend more money on the military rather than on internal city development. I think that a little reason was because people felt like when they have this infrastructural development, it's an avenue for people to like steal money. I think
this kind of digression, but so I
was going to ask a question.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, my question was like, do you think that like spending money in this time of war, do you understand spending more money on the military than on infrastructure and development in the city in different ways? Education, healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Or are you more on the side of like developing in the city than military?
Obviously, there should be a balance, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just abandon all infrastructure altogether, right? But then you can shift in one way or another. In this specific case, most likely it was related to the kind of the thing that at some point all these army brigades, they were attached to the city and they started to pay a lot of taxes into the city budgets, not Ukrainian budgets. And then those cities locally started spending a lot on infrastructure projects. And then there was a lot of arguments that, hey, this money are coming from the central government and it's supposed to be spent on military, and instead of that, you're spending it on infrastructure. I mean, in that case, as if we are pretending to be just a general Ukrainian citizen, I think the mood is that there should be more money spent on the army.
But if you were not?
There should be a balance. Where specifically, I don't know the budgets. You have to go drill down into detail, really a lot of detail. So I honestly
can't really whatever know brings without more specifics. Jobs to people, then we should do that. Of course, there should be a balance. Of course, we cannot abandon the military for civilian and infrastructure, but it's ridiculous to say as long as the war goes on, we cannot develop anything in the city. So, I mean, and also I really think a benefit of developing in the city is creating jobs, and that's why
But you can't just create jobs for the purpose of creating jobs. You have to create value.
I don't think that they're doing it for the purpose of creating job. I think it's a benefit from it. So it's something, it makes me feel more inclined to allow
but that can't be the main incentive.
I didn't say it's a main incentive. I said it's a benefit from it.
It's a benefit. It's but it's kind of like an externality that is good, but can't be the main reason
because
why.
Because of this benefit, I am more inclined to support like spending money on civilian infrastructure.
You spend money on military, it still kind of, it doesn't really, it somewhat create jobs. I mean, people don't die. It's also good. Want? Yeah, some people want to be military people.
Yeah, I agree.
And people don't die. You reduce people like death, which is by general standard good.
Reduce the death. It doesn't mean people don't die.
Well, yeah, less people die, which is, I agree that it's good. Personally, don't you?
I don't. I agree that less people. Well, I don't want to go into military now because.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to get you.
Less politics.
Let's go back to altruism, right? I used to when we walked on the street more often. Before, I used to give money to people, and you used to criticize my giving. Let's go to that.
All right. I think we already had a couple of arguments throughout years about it.
Right.
And just to bring up a recent case that...
Recent?
No, not with us. Like recently...
Who are you walking with?
No, not with you. Oh my God, chill. Let me speak. So I was listening to some guy and they started like I would call it virtue signaling, but saying that, hey, we just gathered $3 million for this person to go to Europe for a child, obviously.
For a child to go to Europe?
No, to get treated from some disease. And like it was like such a great thing. We did it the right. I know, but I have to say it, and like
you have to.
I have to for the sake benefit of the entire society. I have to be that bad guy who brings up uncomfortable truth.
Make your asshole statement. Go ahead.
Not that I don't enjoy this role. So my point is that $3 million could have been spent to save not one child, but at least 100 kids in the same country. If you don't want to go to other countries, even in the same country. So for me, whenever someone says that we spend this shit ton of money on one child, I think about opportunity costs. And for me, it's just, yes, saving one child is better than not saving anyone.
Right.
According to general moral principles. Okay. But it is worse than saving 2 children, and especially 100 children. So
who are you in the... Where's your side in the trolley problem?
My side is killing less people.
My side is just like...
Your side is not doing anything.
Yeah.
My side is... And that is, I think, avoiding responsibility.
Yeah.
And you see, who is the moral person here? I am.
I wouldn't think about it, though. That's the thing.
You wouldn't even think about... I would actually think about it.
I'll go home and sleep at night without thinking about the one person I killed or the million people that I killed.
I'm sorry. That's super immoral from my perspective.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy. What can I say?
So you are more immoral than me.
What's her name? Billie Eilish wrote a song about me. I don't know the song. What's the song? You're a bad guy. It's just to say that in the song.
I mean, I know it's the name of it. I don't know how it goes. I don't
remember how it goes.
Me neither. But
I know there's something called bad guy there. Okay, right.
You're a bad guy.
Ah.
All right. Finally, I remember something. So, opportunity cost. And I think you disagree here because you say that... I don't
disagree with you.
Okay.
In this case,
Never.
No. In the case that you gave, I don't disagree with you. I just think that there are... Like, the thing is that the problem is that nobody is trying to raise $3 million for 10,000 children. Nobody's doing that. I think that if there were 2 cases where there was 3 million, we could raise either $3 million for one child or $3 million for 10,000 children, then we could have this conversation. But the point that my thing is that there is like all this, there are many children that need help, sure. But this is the only child that is seen. So if somebody can do something to help the one that they can see they can help, why not?
I disagree. What do you mean no one's raising money? There are tons of non-profit organizations.
And people who see them, they give to them. I don't think that the person who will give, who will donate to like one child getting getting treatment wouldn't donate to like 10,000 children if they saw it.
So, okay, first of all, my disappointment is with opinion leaders who like promote these gatherings and organize. This is my first responsibility, because if you want to
do you think they shouldn't promote such
No, I think if you want to do good,
you should
do it efficiently.
So do you think they have a responsibility to look for the most efficient way to do good?
Yes. If you ask money from other people,
I don't disagree with you. I just think it's just more difficult.
It's a little bit more difficult. And secondly, even for those who donate, it really doesn't take a long time to just Google organizations. It's like 30 minutes.
Let's use this example of the war. The war started and I left the city and I had like some survivor's guilt, mostly because of you, because I thought you were going to die.
Good to know. No pressure.
No. We had a little tiff because I was telling you to get out of the city, right?
I don't remember. I was very tired.
Yeah, you're very annoying. But anyway, I had the survivor's guilt and how did that get on your... Okay, whatever. I had survivor's guilt and I just went online and I went on Instagram and Telegram and Twitter and I was seeing all the posts about what's happening. And I was donating to everything that I saw in that moment. But that's what most people do. They donate to what they see. What you are asking people to do is when I feel like donating, but that's not how it works, right? People donate when they see a cause to donate to it. But you're asking people to feel like donating first or see some problem in some world, then not do that donation, but go to their own time, search the best.
Yes. Okay.
It's not wrong. It's just not reasonable for people to do with their time.
It's a little bit more difficult.
People have limited time, first of all, and really donation really plays a lot on emotions, and it's that feeling of that moment.
I agree with your explanation of why it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that it shouldn't happen this way. My point, and I don't think it takes a long time. I think really 1 hour you can have several companies, several funds that you will donate for the next several years.
I have another question for you though, especially regarding this boy. So I can imagine that the people who raised the money for this boy must have been like from his family. Let's imagine they must have started from his family or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, if I have a child who is sick and needs treatment, should I go look for 10,000 people to add my child to so that I can get like money in the best way?
I mean, for you, your child is worth more than other kids.
So I start a fund for my child.
You start a fund.
But you're saying that other people should not donate to my fund because it's just...
I'm sorry. Because when I see like your child will survive, hopefully.
My fictional child, okay.
But there is an opportunity cost, and the opportunity cost that 99 other kids will die.
You don't need to be that logical when it comes to giving.
But that's what it is.
It's an emotional activity. It's not something that you're supposed to logically
but that's what it
analyze. It is an emotional activity. So you just give when you can.
But you can always give, and you can always give more. But you always have some limited budget.
Right. And so you give what you see when you can. You see it. It triggers an emotion in you. You want to give, you give.
Or you have a dedicated budget to altruism.
Who have you ever seen do this thing, by the way?
Not me. But I mean, there is this community, Effective Altruism, which has gotten a bad rap. I support the ideals.
Why have they gotten a bad rap? What did they do?
No,
they stole the money?
A lot of people like who are prominent in this community, they were also connected to crypto platforms.
Oh my god!
And some of those platforms went bankrupt and like they stole money.
Of course.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the ideology.
Did they give the money that they were like? Did they actually do things?
No, I mean, some of them obviously did. It's more like it's a community.
Understood.
Obviously, some of them did donate money. And there are this actually applied for this company. Like there are people who research efficient projects, like socially, projects that have social value. And they calculate like how much bang for the buck you get. And there are like different like even audit companies who assess nonprofits.
Such work.
It's really not difficult. I don't remember the names of it, but you just Google it. They already audited.
Do this?
I've done it. I haven't donated anything, but this is a thing about me. If I want to donate, I know who donates.
Okay. About effective altruism, though, just to go even smaller. When I gave money to people, you talked about what they did with the money, right? Right? Focus.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when I did give money, you kind of mentioned that I should care about what happens with the money. But I am a kind of person who just gives the money and immediately the money leaves my hand. It's not my money. I don't care if they buy drugs with the money. I don't care if they buy like whatever with the money. It's really not my money. But you think I should care. And why is that?
Absolutely. I mean, okay, in extreme case, you give a money to a person who you're almost 100% confident will buy drugs for that.
But it's not my money anymore. So why am I'm not a part of this.
But the alternative is to give money to someone who will use it on medicine.
But I can do both.
But your budget is limited.
Yeah, but no, if I'm walking, let's not go for that far, but I'm walking on the street and somebody comes to ask me for money and the person looks like they are a drug addict. Yes. They're begging for money. They say, I need money to eat, right? I don't know if they'll eat or they'll buy drugs with it. Most likely they will buy drugs
exactly.
with it.
I mean,
but the thing is like, why should I have some responsibility in this drug buying?
You don't really have responsibility.
Okay, so why should I
don't think like they have obviously, well, I don't believe in free will, but they have agency. We as a society we assign agency to them. They make their own decisions.
Right.
I don't consider you. Well, in this particular case, I mean, if they ask for food and they're in front of a food supermarket, it's fine. If they're in front of a drugstore, I mean, I'm sorry, this is
no, but then
too
you
far.
can even go to salaries. People have salaries and then they use their salary to buy drugs. Are their bosses responsible for their drug addicts?
No, obviously they earn this money.
Drug addiction.
They earn this money.
This person earned the job
they
is
asked
begging.
for it.
Yeah, their job is begging, and they begged well enough that I gave them the money.
That's a little bit degrading.
How?
I don't know. I just feel like it. I don't have a rational argument. Let's come back to my thing. So I don't think you're immoral, that immoral, but
that's immoral. So I'm a bit immoral.
If they're in front of a drugstore, I think it's at least a little.
I feel like a drugstore is a safe place to buy drugs.
Yeah,
you wouldn't buy like
2 a.m. At 2 a.m. It's like, you know, you have a queue in a drugstore. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I have. And like after midnight, I have seen a queue.
So and you're like, oh, what are they doing? Probably aspirin. Probably they have a headache.
Usually it is aspirin. I've stood in a queue in a drugstore. In front of a drugstore.
Most people were not there for aspirin.
I wasn't there for aspirin either. Assume much. I was there for Imodium. Because I was traveling. And you know how I am about toilets.
Oh, last thing I went for... digression. I had a constipation and I needed this... How do you call it? A container for... No, it wasn't a constipation. No, I needed a container for my shit. For my...
You had to do a test.
Yeah, I had a test, but because of constipation. Anyway, so I don't think it's immoral.
I'm sorry, what was that tangent? What the fuck was that?
Well, that's how I was introduced to this night drug culture, because I usually don't go to drugstores at night.
You didn't actually say that before. You just mentioned a container. What was that? Oh my god!
So I don't think it's immoral.
Also, you should get that from the hospital. They should give you that when they tell you to come for it, to bring it the next day. They should give you.
Why would I go there in advance to get the container and then go there again?
No, you go there in advance and you tell them that you have constipation that's really bad, and they say, okay, we need a sample.
I can do it on my own. I don't want to go there
get
twice.
A sample of two samples and go to the hospital and go like, so I'm here with my sample. Who wants to come and check it?
I think I booked it in advance, but I didn't go there I didn't go there literally to take a container. Why?
No, but when you book, I'll go there and get. I'm not going to.
Let's not go there.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not tomorrow, but why wouldn't you want your money to be spent more efficiently? Why wouldn't you? Would you agree that saving one person is less moral than saving two people? Or two people is more moral than saving one person?
I don't want to use like less moral or more moral because I think they're all moral. I'm not going to like grade the morality.
Okay, that's something I have a big problem with.
Why? You don't... What's happening?
Headphone issues. Because you have to make decisions. Like, when people say...
By the way, I didn't say it's impossible to grade morality. I just said that in this case, I don't want to grade morality.
Why not, then?
Because I just think that both of them are good. And I'm not going to say that it is less
Why don't you want to grade it?
I don't feel comfortable with grading it. I do agree with you that it makes more sense to save more people than less people. 100%.
Okay.
But the point is that my thing is that in the reality, you're not always presented with both options. You have to actually go look for that second option.
But it's really not hard. You just Google it. You just Google the effective altruism non-profit companies. You will have a list.
No, I think the thing is like because you're not such a giver, you don't understand what giving feels
because like. And like again,
you don't even tip.
Oh, what? Okay, that's a fucking lie. I don't donate, but I tip for all service people there. Well, I don't tip delivery guys.
See,
I do tip in restaurants. So I don't like when people say that all life is.
All lives matter. Excuse
priceless.
Me. What?
No.
Get the fuck out of
no. That life is priceless, and it doesn't matter whether it's one life or 100 lives. That's just not the reality. We need to spend money. The good governments, most governments, they decide whether to assign money to one or another program, whether to invest in one thing or another to decrease, for instance, chance of like an accident on the road. They decided based on putting a number on it. I hope they do. In developed countries, in the US, they definitely do it. You do put a number on the life, and just let's not be in denial about it.
First of all, I just noticed you barely have eyelashes. Jesus Christ. Secondly, I think
personal attack.
I think that it's something that we do think about, and when it comes down to it, this happened during COVID. People had to make difficult decisions, and you had to try to save as many people as possible. And yes, and you had to save people that were, sad to say, but worth saving more than other people, because some people were older than other people, some people were more sick than other people, etc. So we do think about it. But just in your general life, why people say this, every life is precious, because they want you to have the same emotion towards one person dying as you have towards 10,000 people dying. Because if you don't, and you go like, one person died in a building explosion today, or you're like, all right, it's just one person. That is not something that we want to foster in our society.
I agree.
So that is why but I mean, of course, logically, everybody I hope everybody understands that if we have to make a decision, we do have to.
I think I expect most people to understand it, but I have heard it on multiple occasions, people making this argument and then saying every life matters, and then it kind of implies that it doesn't matter, the scale doesn't matter. And I think there is a downside to that. I agree that you want to care, you want to live in a society where every life matters, but the downside of that is when shit goes down, you kind of stop having this scale, because like there is this saying like one death is a tragedy, like, and 1 million deaths is statistics or something. And that's what happens.
Is that the saying?
Yeah, it is a saying.
It's not the opposite?
No, it is the saying that at some people humans can't imagine like hundreds of thousands people dying. For them, it just becomes numbers. But that's why it's so much easier to gather money for one person, for one poor child who is sick. You see that face. It's so everywhere. Help this person. But when it's 10,000 people dying somewhere out there, it's like, oh yeah, it's an issue. Like government will deal with that. It's like you can't imagine 10,000 kids dying at the same time.
People go like, oh, doesn't matter that much.
Okay,
I don't think they don't think about it as much.
There have been studies
because it's maybe impossible to individualize it or personify this death.
I think it's a psychological phenomenon.
I agree, but now that you've explained it, I agree.
And there have been studies like people.
But I don't know if they go like it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying like it's just difficult.
No, I agree. They don't say it doesn't matter. They say it is an issue, but they're not willing to donate.
Well, because there's nothing, you cannot find one thing to connect to. If 10,000 people are dying, the way to help is to bring out one person who is dying as well, and then let people relate to that one person, and in that way help this 10,000 people. No, I agree with you in terms of the effectiveness. I just think that it's a tedious thing for a lot of people to do. Number one, about like being effective in like who you're helping. Secondly, about like one life being as valuable as the other. I hope that people say that because we're trying to cultivate, like I would say that to someone. If someone said to me like a drone fell in a building and one person died, I would say, oh, that's horrible. And someone said 10,000 people died, I'd say that's also horrible. I wouldn't go like, that's really horrible.
I would.
But the goal, in my mind, I understand that that's worse than the one person dying. But the goal of me saying that, it's a conscious thing, is trying to not foster a society where people go like, one person died, it's one person. I want people to be able to still feel like this life is to some extent valuable.
But I still want to preserve some gradations of words. You can't just have the same word for 1 million people dying.
Good, better,
person.
Best. Bad, worst.
Okay, but
I'll accept your argument.
I mean, it's not really related.
I agree
but
that they should be there. It's relevant to have some grading of like words. But let's go away from that. But still in altruism, performative altruism, I hate this. And I've thought about it, and I think that there are some situations when they're fine. I guess that when someone posts, you know what I'm talking about. These days, a lot of people do things for people and then they make it a video.
Okay.
And they make a whole reaction video. I recently saw some
video. Reaction video to their video?
No. I saw something recently which I thought was really sweet. A group of boys lived in some university in the US in a dormitory. They bought a ticket for their security, a plane ticket for their security guard to go home and see his family because they liked him so much. I thought that was great. Why did they record it? Why am I seeing this? Why is it something that they set up a camera, showed this man? This man was so overcome with emotion. He prostrated, like he went on his knees on the ground to thank them. And this was on video. And I'm sure the man does not care because after he was speaking, I think he doesn't care about it. But why is this done? Why can't you do the thing that you want to do without putting it on there? Is it still altruism? Because to an extent, you want people to see the good that you're doing. It's selfish. Does the selfishness cancel the altruism?
Okay, if we go to the basics, don't you think that all altruism is selfish?
Yes, but come on, we hide it.
So you should hide it better?
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously though, do you get what I'm saying? Though?
No, I
like
do.
You go to a homeless person on the road.
For me, it's cringy.
Well, I don't like this word because I feel like I'm too old to say it.
No, it's the word of our generation.
Not our generation.
It's our generation. I've been using it all the time.
90s kids.
I've been using it for decades.
Well, it's not your generation. Okay, cringy is a word of our generation, probably. Cringe alone, it's not.
Oh, so much difference.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But yeah, no, it is cringy. But also, I think that it is, I'm not going to speak for these people, but like, I feel like it is degrading. It's degrading to another person to uplift yourself.
I agree.
You go to a homeless person and you give them money. Of course, they're so grateful. How they will react to it. You have made a whole thing about why are you recording it? This is my big question when I see people record themselves going into homes, giving people money and food. There is one thing to say, okay, we've done this. Hey guys, this is how you can find it, but also you can do that without a video.
I do think that there is probably some value in like people sharing that they have donated because
it causes other people to do it.
Yes.
But you can do that without the person.
Ways.
There are different ways to do it.
I agree.
So you can make a video telling us that you did something. My big problem is the person who is receiving the help.
No, yeah, they are vulnerable and they're very emotional.
A lot of times they don't even know they're being recorded.
I mean, I have a general problem people recording everything. So, like for me recording this thing, I do think you put a person in this vulnerable emotional position and then you record them and then you post it to get likes.
Right.
And I mean,
for people to say you did a good thing. And then they get these videos get so glorified. People post them on stories and
that's even more surprising for me.
Why that surprises me that people don't see these videos and go, what? But rather they just glorify these people and they repost them and share them and they go on news and they go on TV and something and I'm like, you are really to feel better about yourself, you really reduced another person.
For me, it's just embarrassing, honestly. I will go that far.
It's extremely selfish because, everything is selfish, sure. But this is extremely selfish that to me, it is not altruistic anymore.
Depends on the definition.
It is extremely self-gratifying. And that is,
okay.
When you make a video of a person that you're giving something, it is totally self-gratifying. You have done that. You have kept a record of the good thing that you did. And you're going to see as that video grows online and becomes viral. And you see as people like it and click it and people comment, oh, you were so great. That was such a great thing to do. You like the comment, you comment, yeah, we love this person. That's why we did it. Then it's totally self-gratifying. There is no altruism there.
I generally agree. I think a lot when we speak about altruism, yes, like first of all, I think we kind of need to redefine altruism because the definition that usually have is that this is something you do for other people. Mm-hmm. But both of us agree that everything is done in our own self-interest. But I think that this is still a useful word, but we just need to slightly redefine it. Mm-hmm. It's when you satisfy your needs through helping other people.
Well, I think that in our redefinition of this word, the satisfaction that you gain should be less than the actual thing that you did, the help that you gave.
I don't think it matters.
I think that the recipient of your altruism should be more satisfied than you for it to qualify as altruism. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe. I haven't thought about it. Maybe. But in this case, with recording videos, mm-hmm. it really depends on the internal motivation. And in most cases, I would speculate that people care more about their virtue signaling.
I would almost confidently say.
Right. And that's why it doesn't qualify even in my narrower version of the redefinition. We also wanted to talk about rich people spending money, right?
Right.
So I suggest starting with a thought experiment. We are a quick, short experiment. Mm-hmm. Let's imagine we are rich people.
Okay.
And what do you think your expenses change, and in what way? Do you think that they would be similar to expenses of the stereotypical rich person?
I have to ask, am I born rich or
no
became rich?
You are you're you with your values that you have right now, but you become rich.
My expenses would change definitely because my living condition is comfortable now, but it could be better. I mean, I'd like to live more comfortably. I think that's the biggest expense in terms of other things. I'm not a luxurious person. I don't think I'll go for huge luxuries. I'd buy a really nice car, probably not really nice, a useful car. I don't really need none of that. My expenses won't change that much, honestly. I might buy electronics. I might buy a lot of electronics that are really, really good because there you really get as you said, the bang for your buck.
Okay, you have hundreds of $1 million.
Okay.
What is your yearly expenses?
I have a net worth of hundreds of millions?
Yes.
I can't say, but I will say this. I've thought about it, and maybe it's because I wasn't born rich, and I know different levels of life, different kind of life styles or levels. a huge part of me really wouldn't feel comfortable without doing something for a community with the money. But my personal expenses, yeah, yes. I don't think that they'll be up to $1 million. I don't know what I'd buy.
Sorry, after $1 million? That's a pretty big growth.
People buy bags that cost
I didn't ask about people, and I don't think that's reasonable.
Because I imagine that I'll buy a house.
We are talking about not about like capital investments. We are talking about just like everyday spendings.
I don't think it'll go much more than I spend now. I can imagine what I need. I really can't. I'd buy food and gas probably, or charge my car.
So it's electric car?
Yeah, I mean, I would most likely buy an electric car. And yeah, no, I don't think much will change. Let's say yearly, probably like 20,000 max if I'm looking for something to do, like going to a really nice restaurant or something. If I have
why do you think that most people who get rich, their expenses change?
It's a question I was going to ask you as well. I really thought about it, and I thought, why? But I don't know. Is it to maintain appearances, to fit into the higher class, or is it just availability?
I think a lot of it is that you change your social circle, and it's not that your needs necessarily change. It's just, I think a lot of it is just fitting in. You just think, okay, they are spending 1,000 for a meal. I'm going to spend 1,000 for a meal because I can afford it and people do it around me. This just becomes a normal thing.
But I would say that as I have changed my cost of my standard of living, since I started working and I started to make some extra money, I have started to allow myself to enjoy more expensive things. But it isn't to fit in. It's just mostly because of quality.
I do afford it. Yeah, but this marginal value, it reduces pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like food, it reduces how much can you spend on food to actually improve the quality. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, you can hire someone if it includes hiring people, that can increase it. But ultimately, there is a limit. Food is not expensive.
But about spending money as a rich person, what do you think of people who argue that rich people should spend their money on causes like, ending hunger or health, etc., and the ecology?
Should and consider them immoral?
Yes, sure, why not?
Well, I mean, we talked about capitalism last episode, right? And within this capitalistic paradigm, I don't think you should do anything, but I would, personally, when someone spends $1 billion on a yacht, and I can't understand it. I just don't see any value in it.
I would go as far as, I wouldn't say this maybe 5 months ago, 1 year ago, before COVID, I wouldn't have said this, but I would go as far as saying it's immoral. I consider it immoral for someone to exist in a society, and then we don't have time for you to do all that. How big is the society? How big is your influence? How big is your reach? Blah, blah, blah. I consider it immoral for someone to exist in a society that needs help that they can meet, that they can actually solve, yet go ahead and spend money on something frivolous like a yacht.
Right, but there are always different limits, right? You can always give away more and more. You can give 50% of your net worth. You can give 99% of your net worth. You can give 99.9% of your net worth.
I don't know why, because I think this is something we can talk another time because billionaires are celebrated as something, and Jeff Bezos becomes the richest man again, and he celebrates and people celebrate him, etc. What is that about? Why is Jeff Bezos celebrating being worth so much money? Is he celebrating being the ruler of capitalism? Or how do you
celebrate it for what? For his donations?
Just being rich. Just being the richest man. When you live in a society where there's so many people who can't afford so many things, I'm not saying that he should give all his money away. I don't care that much, but I think that if you have benefited from a system, if a lot of people have been responsible for your benefiting from this system, I consider it immoral for you to exist in that society and not aid that society, but rather do something frivolous like build a fucking clock in the mountains.
I don't know about that.
He has a fucking clock in the mountains. Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I got that one. I think that we can't expect them to donate the majority. First of all, they don't have that capital in cash, right? It's not liquid. They can only donate so much. I know I wouldn't necessarily.
You would donate?
I think I would invest in science. No, I think I would.
Oh, okay. I believe you there.
I would invest in maybe
actually that for me is a
drug discovery or something.
Easiest, the best route to go with billionaires, because they do a lot of talk. And I think they invest in science. Elon Musk, for all the things I hate about him, I give him credit for really pushing with the battery cars, and I give him credit for SpaceX even. I think it's a really innovative company. But I just think that there's so much more that he could be doing that he isn't doing.
Yeah, but I think everyone can do more than we are doing now.
If there's anything that you leave with today, is you can always do more.
Right, such a deep thought.